The Deep Space Monitoring Station beeped quietly in the darkness. Admiral James Walker stood before the massive display screen, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow. Something wasn't right. After 30 years in Earth's Defense Force, he had learned to trust his instincts. "Admiral, you should see this," called out Dr. Lisa Reed from her workstation. The young scientist's fingers flew across the holographic keyboard as she pulled up a series of strange energy readings. "These patterns, they're unlike anything we've recorded before." Walker moved closer, his boots echoing on the metal floor of Earth's Advanced Detection Center. The facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, represented humanity's greatest achievement in space monitoring technology. While the Galactic Empire looked down on Earth as a newcomer to interstellar society, they had yet to match the sensitivity of human detection systems. "How long have these signals been active?" Walker asked, leaning over Reed's shoulder to study the data streams. 3 days. At first I thought it was background radiation. But look at this. She highlighted a section of the readout. "There's a pattern here. It's almost like something's waking up." Walker felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had only been part of the Galactic Empire for 15 years, admitted reluctantly after Earth proved its worth during the asteroid crisis of 2157. In that time, they had learned of many threats lurking in the dark between stars. But this felt different. "Send a warning to the Imperial Council," Walker ordered, straightening his uniform. Priority 1. The response came faster than expected, but its content was disappointingly familiar. On the main screen, Council Member Thorne, a tall crystalline being, regarded them with what passed for contempt in his species. "Admiral Walker," the alien's translated voice filled the room. "The Empire has monitored that sector for millennia. Your primitive instruments must be malfunctioning. We suggest you focus on maintaining your small defense fleet rather than troubling the Council with false alarms." Dr. Reed stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Council member, with all due respect, Earth's detection grid is far more sensitive than—" The transmission cut off mid-sentence. "They never listen," Walker muttered, but his voice carried no surprise. "Keep monitoring the signal. Document everything." Over the next week, the strange energy readings grew stronger. Dr. Reed worked tirelessly, analyzing the patterns, comparing them to known phenomena. Her breakthrough came on a quiet Tuesday morning. "Admiral," her shout brought Walker running from his office. "I've cracked it. The signal, it's not just random energy. It's affecting space itself. Look at these gravity wave patterns." The main screen filled with a complex diagram. Even Walker, with his limited scientific knowledge, could see the horror of what it showed. Space itself was being twisted, folded, consumed. "How far?" he asked quietly. "The nearest point is 50 light-years from the Empire's outer colonies." Reed's voice trembled. "Based on the speed of expansion, they have 3 months at most." Walker hit the emergency broadcast button. This time, he didn't bother with the Council. Instead, he connected directly to every human outpost and ship in known space. "This is Admiral James Walker of the Earth Defense Force. As of this moment, all human forces are at DEFCON 2. This is not a drill. Begin emergency protocols immediately." He turned to Dr. Reed. "Get me everything you can on these readings. The Empire might not listen, but we'll be ready. Humanity has survived every threat it has faced. We'll survive this too." As alerts blared throughout the facility, Walker stared at the screen showing the approaching anomaly. Humanity had always been underestimated by the Empire, seen as too young, too aggressive, too paranoid. But those same traits had kept them alive through countless challenges on Earth. Now, those survival instincts were screaming that something terrible was coming. The warning had been given. The Empire might ignore it, but humanity would prepare. In the depths of the monitoring station, Earth's first line of defense against cosmic threats, the pieces were already being set for humanity's greatest challenge. The stars were going dark, and only Earth was watching. Admiral Walker watched the replay for the 10th time, his hands gripping the edge of the command console. The recording, captured by Earth's long-range sensors, showed the horror in painful detail. First came the darkness, deeper than space itself, spreading like ink in water. Then the stars began to disappear, one by one, until the entire sector went black. 3 billion people, Dr. Reed whispered beside him. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days. The whole planet just gone. The emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council filled the screens around them. Military commanders and civilian leaders from every major nation watched in silence as the recording played again. It's reached 2 more Imperial worlds, Walker reported, his voice tight. The Empire's sensors didn't detect the threat until it was too late. Our warnings could have saved them. A new alert flashed across the main screen. Dr. Reed's fingers flew across her console, pulling up fresh data. Admiral, we're picking up movement at the edge of the void. Something's coming through. The sensors showed it clearly, massive shapes emerging from the darkness. They were like nothing humanity had ever seen, creatures of pure energy, each one larger than Earth's largest cities. They moved with purpose, their forms shifting and flowing like living lightning. The Void Swarm, Reed breathed, giving name to their enemy. They're not just destroying worlds. They're consuming them, converting all matter and energy into more of themselves. Walker opened a channel to the Imperial capital. This time, the Council appeared instantly, their earlier dismissal replaced by panic. Your Excellencies, Walker kept his voice steady, professional. I assume you're tracking the situation. How did you know? Council member Thorne's crystalline form trembled. How did your sensors detect them before ours? Earth has always faced extinction, Walker replied. We learned to watch the darkness carefully. Now we need to work together. The Void Swarm is heading toward populated space. We have defensive strategies ready. A new alarm cut through the room. Dr. Reed's face went pale as she checked the readings. Admiral, they're accelerating. The swarm, it's splitting into multiple groups. They're targeting different sectors simultaneously. The Imperial Council erupted in chaos. On other screens, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Void Swarm moved with impossible speed, consuming everything in their path. Stars, planets, entire systems disappeared into their endless hunger. Walker slammed his hand down on the emergency broadcast system. His voice carried to every human ship and colony in space. All Earth forces, execute Protocol Omega. This is not a drill. I repeat, execute Protocol Omega immediately. Across the galaxy, humanity's preparations sprang into action. Hidden weapon caches activated. Civilian ships began emergency evacuation procedures. Military vessels moved into predetermined defensive positions. While the Empire reeled in shock, humanity was ready. Dr. Reed, Walker turned to the scientist. Activate the Deep Space Monitoring Network. Full power. Reed nodded, entering commands. Across the solar system, massive sensor arrays hummed to life. Built in secret over the past decade, they represented Earth's greatest achievement in detection technology. The arrays painted a clear picture of the approaching threat. The Void Swarm moved like a living thing, but with a horrible intelligence behind it. They weren't random destroyers. They were hunting, learning, adapting. Look at this pattern. Reed pointed to the display. They're not just destroying randomly. They're studying us. Each attack is different from the last. They're learning how we fight back. Walker watched as another Imperial world went dark. The Empire had mocked Earth's paranoia, their constant preparation for disaster. Now that paranoia might be the only thing standing between civilization and extinction. Send everything we have to the Imperial Council, he ordered. All our data, all our analysis. It's time to show them what humanity can do. The Void Swarm was coming, but this time, someone was ready for them. This time, Humanity would stand and fight. The Imperial Council chamber had never seen anything like it. Where once crystalline beings had looked down on human representatives with disdain, now they listened intently as Admiral Walker addressed the emergency session. The Void Swarm has consumed 17 worlds. Walker's voice echoed through the vast hall. But we've noticed something strange. They're avoiding direct contact with human ships and colonies. Behind him, Dr. Reed operated the holographic display, showing detailed scans of the Void Swarm's movement patterns. The assembled alien representatives leaned forward, their attention fixed on the data. "Impossible," muttered Council Member Thorne, but his voice lacked its usual certainty. "Why would these creatures fear humans?" Dr. Reed stepped forward, her confidence growing as she presented her findings. "It's not fear. Our brain patterns seem to interfere with their ability to consume energy. Something about human consciousness disrupts their feeding process." The council chamber erupted in excited discussion. Representatives from 100 alien species talked at once, their translator devices creating a cacophony of overlapping voices. Walker raised his hand for silence. "We're not here to brag about humanity's special traits. We're here to save the galaxy. Earth is ready to share all our defensive technology, but we need your help to build it on a galactic scale." The Council's supreme leader, a being of pure light, spoke for the first time. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "A united fleet," Walker replied, "combining Earth's defensive capabilities with Imperial technology. Dr. Reed has already begun working with your scientists on some promising developments." Reed nodded, changing the display to show a new design. "We call it the Neural Shield. It mimics human brain patterns on a massive scale. Early tests show it can slow down the Void Swarm's advance." The mood in the chamber shifted. Where once there had been skepticism about humanity's worth, now there was hope. The Empire's mighty fleet had proven useless against the Void Swarm, but these upstart humans might hold the key to survival. "There's more," Reed continued. "We found that human pilots can navigate closer to the Void Swarm than any other species. Something about our thought patterns creates a kind of blind spot in their awareness." Walker watched as understanding dawned across the alien faces. "We're not asking to take control. We're asking to work together. Earth will share everything we know, all our technology, all our research. In return, we need the Empire's manufacturing capability to build these defenses on a massive scale." The Supreme Leader's glow brightened, a sign of approval in their species. "The Empire has long viewed Earth as too aggressive, too paranoid. We were wrong. Your preparation, your constant readiness for threats, these are traits we now desperately need." Across the chamber, representatives nodded in agreement. The same human qualities they had once mocked, paranoia, aggression, endless preparation for disaster, now seemed like salvation. "Time is short," Walker pressed. "The Void Swarm is learning, adapting. Every world they consume makes them stronger. We need to act now." The Supreme Leader rose, their light filling the chamber. "Let it be recorded. As of this moment, humanity is granted full membership in the Imperial Council. Admiral Walker will coordinate our combined defense forces. All Imperial resources are at Earth's disposal." Dr. Reed's console beeped urgently. She checked the readings and looked up with concern. "Admiral, the Void Swarm is changing course. They're gathering into a single mass. I've never seen energy readings this high." Walker turned back to the Council. "They know what we're planning. They won't give us time to prepare. Every ship, every resource, every warrior you have. We need them now." The Council chamber transformed into a command center as orders flew out across the galaxy. For the first time in Imperial history, all species worked together, following humanity's lead. As Walker watched the preparations unfold, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity had spent its entire existence preparing for doomsday. Now doomsday had finally come, and they weren't facing it alone. The combined fleet stretched across space like a metal galaxy, 10,000 ships from 100 different worlds, all following the commands flowing from Earth's Advanced Defense Center. At its heart, the newly constructed flagship, Terra's Hope, carried both Admiral Walker and Dr. Reed. Neural shields at full power, Reed announced, monitoring the massive energy readings. Around each ship, invisible fields pulsed with copied human brainwave patterns. The Void Swarm won't be able to slip past us like they did the Imperial defenses. Walker stood at the command center, watching tactical displays show the enemy's position. The Void Swarm had gathered into a single, massive cloud of dark energy that consumed everything in its path. But now, for the first time, it faced real opposition. All ships, commence Operation Starfire, Walker's voice carried across the fleet. Human crews will lead the advance. Imperial ships, maintain formation behind the neural shields. The battle began with a flash of light that would have blinded normal sensors. The Void Swarm struck first, sending tendrils of dark energy to probe the fleet's defenses. But where these attacks had once torn ships apart instantly, now they splashed harmlessly against the neural shields. "It's working," Reed exclaimed, watching the data flow across her screens. "The shields are holding. The swarm can't process the human brainwave patterns." Walker nodded grimly. "Launch the first wave. Let's show them what humanity's weapons can do." Earth's contribution to the fleet wasn't just defensive. Hidden within the Imperial ships were weapons developed in secret, designed specifically to fight enemies that consumed energy. As the first wave launched, these weapons revealed their power. "Void bombs away," the weapons officer reported. The new devices streaked toward the swarm, each one containing a core of artificial human neural patterns. Where they exploded, they created zones where the swarm couldn't exist, tearing holes in its massive form. The Void Swarm reacted with unexpected violence. It changed shape, forming into massive tentacles that whipped through space. Several Imperial ships, caught outside the neural shields, vanished instantly. But the human ships pressed forward, their crews' minds creating blind spots in the swarm's awareness. "Second wave, launch now," Walker ordered. More ships moved forward, their weapons finding new gaps in the enemy's defenses. The battle stretched across an entire sector of space, a war unlike any the galaxy had seen. Dr. Reed's console suddenly lit up with urgent warnings. "Admiral, the swarm, it's changing again. These readings, it's trying to adapt to our brain patterns." Walker watched as the tactical display showed the truth. The Void Swarm was learning, evolving in real time. Where the neural shields had completely blocked it before, now dark tendrils were starting to slip through. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions," Walker commanded. But even as the fleet retreated, he saw something that gave him hope. The swarm was wounded. For the first time since it appeared, the endless darkness showed signs of weakness. "Look at this," Reed pointed to her readings. "The swarm isn't just trying to adapt to our brain patterns. It's being hurt by them. Every time it touches a neural shield, it loses some of its coherence." Walker studied the data, his military mind seeing the possibility hidden in this discovery. "It's not enough to copy our brain patterns," he said slowly. "We need the real thing. The full power of human consciousness." "What are you suggesting?" Reed asked, though her face showed she already knew. "Contact Earth. Get me the Defense Council." Walker's voice was firm. "I know how we can beat this thing, but it's going to take every human mind in the galaxy working together." As the fleet regrouped, the Void Swarm gathered itself for another attack. But something had changed. The unstoppable force that had consumed entire worlds now moved with caution, wary of the strange creatures whose minds could harm it. Humanity had drawn first blood in this war, but the real battle was just beginning. The emergency broadcast reached every corner of Earth. In homes, offices, and streets, billions of humans watched as Admiral Walker addressed his species. "What I'm about to ask is unprecedented." His face was grim on every screen. "The Void Swarm can be defeated, but it will take all of us, every human mind, working as one." In the background, Dr. Reed's team worked frantically in Earth's main laboratory. The massive room was filled with new equipment, gleaming metal towers that pulsed with strange energy. The neural bridge prototype dominated the center, its silver spires reaching toward the ceiling. Our consciousness hurts them, Walker continued. Not copies, not recordings, but our actual thoughts. Dr. Reed has found a way to connect every human mind into a single network, to turn our combined consciousness into a weapon. The world fell silent as he explained the plan. The neural bridge would link every human being on Earth and in space. Their combined mental energy would create a wave that could tear the void swarm apart. But the cost would be high. We don't know what this will do to us, Reed spoke up, stepping into view. The human mind wasn't meant to be connected like this. There will be risks, pain, maybe worse. In the Imperial Council chamber, alien representatives watched in stunned silence. The same species they had once dismissed as primitive was now willing to risk their entire population in a single desperate gamble. This is madness, Council member Thorne protested. You can't connect billions of minds. The strain would be overwhelming. We don't have a choice, Walker replied firmly. The void swarm is learning to bypass our neural shields. Soon, not even human crews will be able to get close to it. This is our only chance. Back on Earth, the response began. Not with panic or fear, but with determination. Humans had always faced extinction. From nature, from each other, from the cosmos itself. Now they faced it again, together. Dr. Reed worked through the night, making final adjustments to the neural bridge. The connections are ready, she reported, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. We've linked the network to transmission stations around the planet. Every human being will be able to connect. Walker watched as the first volunteers stepped forward. Military personnel, scientists, civilians, all willing to test the system that might save the galaxy. The neural bridge hummed to life, and the volunteers gasped as their minds touched. It's incredible, one of them whispered. I can feel everyone. All their thoughts, their memories, their strength. But there were problems too. Some volunteers emerged with bleeding noses, others with severe headaches. A few couldn't handle the connection at all, their minds overwhelmed by the vast network of consciousness. We need to solve this, Reed insisted, working frantically on modifications. We can't ask humanity to connect if it's going to hurt them. Walker placed a hand on her shoulder. We already know their answer. Look. Outside the laboratory, lines of people stretched for miles. Humans of every nation, every background, waiting to be connected to the neural bridge. News reports showed the same scene playing out across the planet. They're not just willing, Walker said softly. They're ready. Humanity has spent its entire history divided. Now, facing extinction, we'll finally be united. The void swarm seemed to sense what was coming. Its massive form churned at the edge of the solar system, gathering strength for a final assault. But this time, humanity would not be fighting with ships and weapons alone. Reed made the final adjustments to the neural bridge. It's ready, she announced. Maximum safety protocols are in place. But there's no way to make this completely safe. Walker nodded, stepping up to the connection point. Send the signal. Tell everyone to prepare. In 1 hour, humanity faces its greatest challenge, not as billions of individuals, but as one united consciousness. The countdown began. Across Earth, across space, humans prepared to risk everything in a single desperate gamble for survival. The neural bridge activated with a sound like distant thunder. Across Earth, 10 billion minds connected in an instant. The sensation was beyond anything humans had ever experienced. A vast ocean of thoughts and emotions, fears and hopes, all flowing together into something greater. Admiral Walker stood at the command center of Terra's Hope, his mind both in his body and spread across the vast network of human consciousness. Besides him, Dr. Reed monitored the neural bridge's power levels, her own thoughts merging with the collective. All ships report ready, the fleet commander announced, his voice seeming to come from both the speakers and directly into their minds. The Void Swarm is approaching. Through billions of connected eyes, they watched as the darkness came. The swarm had gathered all its strength, forming a wall of void that stretched across space. Stars vanished behind it, consumed by its endless hunger. Now, Walker commanded, his order echoing through every human mind. Release the wave. The combined human consciousness surged forward like a tsunami of pure thought. Where it met the void swarm, space itself seemed to scream. The darkness recoiled, its form rippling with what could only be pain. It's working. Reed's voice carried through the network. The swarm can't process this much human consciousness at once. Push harder. Every human being focused their thoughts, their will, their very essence into the attack. Children in classrooms, soldiers in barracks, farmers in fields, all united in a single purpose. The neural bridge hummed with power never before seen in the galaxy. But the void swarm fought back. Dark tendrils lashed out, seeking weak points in the human network. Wherever they found a gap, they struck with terrible force. Across Earth, people cried out as the mental strain grew unbearable. Hold on, Walker commanded. We can't let up now. Every mind counts. Through the collective consciousness, he felt humanity's response. Despite the pain, despite the strain, no one disconnected from the neural bridge. Instead, they pushed harder, drawing strength from each other. The Imperial fleet watched in awe as the battle unfolded. No weapons fired, no ships moved, yet the very fabric of space shook with the clash of energies. The void swarm, which had consumed entire worlds, was being forced back by the sheer power of human thought. Look, Reed pointed to her readings. The swarm, it's starting to break apart. The darkness was indeed fragmenting. Where the wave of human consciousness struck, pieces of the void swarm separated, their energy dissipating into space. But as it weakened, it grew more desperate. Its attacks became wild, random, causing severe pain through the neural bridge. People collapsed in streets and homes, blood running from their noses, yet their minds remained connected. The strain was immense, but humanity had found a strength they never knew they had. The strength of absolute unity. One final push, Walker called through the network. Everything we have, every thought, every memory, every dream of the future. Give it all. The response was immediate. 10 billion minds focused their entire being into a single burst of pure consciousness. The neural bridge blazed with power, its energy readings going off the scales. The void swarm couldn't withstand it. Like a dark mirror shattering, it broke into countless pieces. Each fragment, cut off from the whole, faded into nothing. The darkness that had threatened the galaxy began to vanish. Through the pain and exhaustion, humanity watched their victory unfold. The combined fleet moved forward, pushing the remaining fragments of the swarm further into deep space. Where once there had been an unstoppable force of destruction, now there was only scattered darkness, fleeing from the light of human consciousness. Walker looked at Reed, both of them feeling the triumph and exhaustion flowing through the neural bridge. "Send the signal," he said quietly. "Tell them it's over. We've won." The message spread through the network of minds, bringing relief and joy to billions. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious, not through weapons or technology, but through the power of their united minds. 3 days after the battle, the neural bridge fell silent. One by one, billions of human minds disconnected from the network, returning to their individual thoughts. Many woke as if from a deep dream, forever changed by the experience of true unity. Admiral Walker stood in the Imperial Council chamber, his uniform still bearing the marks of battle. Beside him, Dr. Reed worked to keep her eyes open, exhausted from days of monitoring the neural bridge's shutdown sequence. "The void swarm is gone," Walker reported to the assembled aliens. "The last fragments have been tracked and eliminated. The galaxy is safe." The Supreme Leader's glow pulsed with approval. Humanity has done more than save the galaxy. You have shown us a new way of existing. The power of unity you demonstrated, it changes everything. Around the chamber, representatives from every alien species nodded in agreement. The same humans they had once seen as primitive now stood before them as saviors. But more than that, they had demonstrated a power that no one in the galaxy had thought possible. The neural bridge technology. Reed spoke up, her voice tired but clear. It can be modified for other species. Not as a weapon, but as a tool for understanding, for bringing people together. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. The possibility of sharing consciousness, of truly understanding other beings, had captured everyone's imagination. But Walker raised his hand for silence. Before we discuss the future, he said, we need to talk about Earth's place in the galaxy. We've proven ourselves. No more second-class status. No more dismissing our warnings. The Supreme Leader moved forward, their light filling the chamber. We agree. As of this moment, Earth is granted a permanent seat on the High Council. Your defensive technologies will be integrated into our systems. Your warnings will never again go unheeded. Back on Earth, humanity was slowly recovering. The shared consciousness had left its mark. People found themselves understanding each other better, feeling echoes of the connection they had shared. Former enemies reached out to each other, their old hatreds seeming small after experiencing true unity. In the Advanced Detection Center, Reed studied the final readings from the neural bridge. The connection changed us, she reported to Walker. Not just mentally, but physically. Our brains have evolved. We're more connected now, even without the bridge. Walker looked out over the facility that had first detected the Void Swarm. Do you think they'll come back? Or others like them? If they do, Reed smiled, they'll find us ready. And this time, we won't be standing alone. The changes spread across the galaxy. Earth became a center of learning, with aliens coming to study human consciousness and defensive techniques. The Imperial fleet was reorganized, with human officers teaching their paranoid but effective approach to cosmic threats. 1 month after the battle, Walker stood on the observation deck of Terra's Hope, watching ships from 100 worlds moving through space. Each one carried new defensive systems based on human designs. Each crew had trained under human instructors, learning to watch the darkness between stars. The Emperor wants us to establish more detection centers. Reed joined him at the window. Like this one, but spread across the galaxy. They're calling it the Walker Defense Network. Walker shook his head, smiling. Just make sure they remember the lessons. Don't dismiss warnings. Don't assume you're safe. And most importantly, stay paranoid. Reed finished with a laugh. Below them, Earth spun peacefully. Its people had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had proven their worth not through conquest or technology, but through unity and determination. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as protectors. As Walker watched the endless flow of ships, he thought about the future. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed. But some things would stay the same. The need for vigilance, the importance of preparation, and the incredible power of minds working together. The darkness between stars didn't seem so empty anymore. And if anything else lurked out there, waiting to strike, they would find humanity ready. Not just ready to fight, but ready to unite. Ready to stand together against any threat the universe could throw at them. This time, the stars would stay bright.